She whispered it wasn't serious, as if that lessened the pain of knowing she chose him. For a second I just stare at her, my brain refusing to process the sentence. Her breath is still warm across my cheek because she leaned in to say it, like we're sharing some intimate secret instead of dismantling our life. The restaurant noise around us goes fuzzy, clinking cutlery, low chatter, the hum of the espresso machine, and all I can really hear is my own pulse slamming in my ears. Her eyes flick everywhere but mine. The napkin, the half-empty glass of red she ordered to take the edge off, the stupid little candle between us that keeps guttering out every time the front door opens. It wasn't serious, Sam, she whispers again, as if repeating it at lower volume will convert it into something that hurts less. Her fingers reach out like she's going to touch my hand, then stop midair and curl into a fist on the table instead. I swear to God, it didn't mean anything. I don't know what happened. I wasn't thinking. I pull my hand back anyway, like her skin might burn me. The motion knocks my fork sideways, metal scraping across the plate. The people at the table behind her glance over and then politely pretend they didn't. I swallow hard, my throat sandpaper dry. The pasta in front of me has congealed into a beige mass. The smell of garlic and oil suddenly makes me want to throw up. Not serious, I say, and my voice sounds flat and unfamiliar. You slept with him more than once. You lied to my face, but it wasn't serious. I can hear myself getting louder and I clamp down on it. I've never been a scene maker. Even now, apparently, my first instinct is to protect her from embarrassment. Do you hear yourself? She flinches like I hit her. I know how it sounds, she says quickly. I do, I'm not trying to excuse it. I'm trying to tell you it's not like I was planning some big future with him. It wasn't about love or replacing you, it was just… She searches the air for a word and lands on noise. I was being stupid. I chose wrong. I know that. I'm choosing you now. That's the problem, I cut in, the words sharp. You had a choice and you chose him. Maybe it was serious in your head, but you still picked him over me, over us. Over this, I say, gesturing around, as if our relationship is contained in the cheap wooden table and the 2 plates of food we're not eating. The candle sputters again and dies completely this time, leaving just a curl of smoke between us. It was a Thursday afternoon when I found out my girlfriend of 3 years had been sleeping with another guy. I always thought if something like that happened, and honestly, I never really believed it would, it'd be one of those dramatic movie moments, catching them together, walking in at the wrong time. Instead, it was a notification on her iPad. I'm using a throwaway for obvious reasons. She knows my main account. I don't really want to deal with, wow op that's rough, from our mutual friends on here. Anyway, the iPad. We live together in this little 1-bedroom apartment above a laundromat that makes the whole hallway smell like detergent on Tuesdays. It's not glamorous, but it's ours. We've got a plant that refuses to die, a cooch we found on Marketplace, and this crooked poster of a band we both loved in high school that she insists has character because the frame is chipped. Her name's Jenna. I'm 29, she's 27. I work in logistics for a furniture retailer, lots of spreadsheets and warehouse updates and listening to managers complain that things aren't moving fast enough. She's a receptionist at a physio clinic and also does part-time photography gigs on weekends, couples, shoots, family photos, that kind of thing. We've been living together for almost 2 years. Before all this, if you'd asked me about our relationship, I would have said the standard stuff. We are happy, we argue about dumb things sometimes. We've talked vaguely about marriage, when we're more financially secure, whatever that means. We had plans. Not like Pinterest board plans, but little ones. A trip to Japan, one day, maybe a dog when our landlord allows pets, eventually moving into a place where the bedroom door actually closes without being shoulder-checked. We met at a friend's trivia night of all places. My friend Luke dragged me along because they needed another warm body with a brain, his words. She was on the opposing team, at a long table crowded with people who all seemed significantly cooler than I felt. She had this messy bun, eyeliner slightly smudged like she'd rubbed her eyes, and a denim jacket covered in random band pins. During the music round, she absolutely annihilated everyone, namming songs from the first 2 beats. She looked so smug about it that I couldn't help laughing. Afterwards, while we were all pretending we were definitely the type of adults who went out on weeknights regularly, I ran into her near the bar. "You're the enemy," I said, pointing at her. She raised an eyebrow. "Because I'm better than you." "Because you stole our rightful first place with your encyclopedic knowledge of early 2000s emo," I said. "We demand a recount." She was drinking some electric blue cocktail that glowed under the bar lights. She took a slow sip, considering me. "Maybe your team just sucks," she said. "No offense." "Offense taken," I replied. "Clearly my only option is to join the dark side. Got room on your team next week." That made her smile. "Maybe," she said. "Depends. Can you name at least 3 Fall Out Boy songs?" I rattled off 4. She clinked her glass against my beer and said, "You can sit with us." It sounds cheesy as hell, but from then everything kind of flowed. We texted. We met for coffee to study for trivia and didn't crack a single practice question. We spent an entire rainy Sunday on my couch watching terrible horror movies and heckling them. 2 months in, she stuck a toothbrush in my bathroom, just in case. 4 months later, we realized she hadn't been back to her place in over a week and started talking about looking at apartments. Jenna's always had this way of making life feel a little bigger than it is. She'll blast music while she cleans, dance in the kitchen while stirring pasta, turn a random walk into an impromptu photo shoot because the light looks too good to waste. She makes friends with bartenders, gives stray cats names, cries at commercials where dogs are reunited with their owners. I'm quieter, not shy exactly, but more background. I'm the one who makes sure the bills are paid on time, that we have toilet paper, that there's a buffer in our account in case something breaks. She calls me her responsible adult. I call her my chaos gremlin. It works, or at least I thought it did. The first time I heard about him was maybe 5 months ago. I didn't know it was important at the time. It was one of those throwaway mentions that you file under her work stuff and forget about. She came home from the clinic unusually chatty, kicked off her shoes by the door, and flopped onto the couch with her head in my lap before I could even close my laptop. "Clinic was wild today," she said, staring at the ceiling. "We had this guy come in, Dan, he's like, I don't know, early 30s maybe, totally messed up his shoulder lifting weights wrong, but he was so funny about it. You know those people who are just like, instantly comfortable talking to everyone." I stroked her hair absent-mindedly. He was giving Charlie such a hard time about the exercises," she continued. "Like, are you sure this isn't just your way of getting me to twerk?" It was stupid, but everyone was laughing. Honestly, it made the day go faster. "New gym bro in your life, huh?" I joked, nudging her shoulder. She snorted. "Oh please, he's not my type. He's, I don't know, loud but refreshing. Like everyone else is either in pain and grumpy or 100 years old. It's nice to have someone come in and just joke around." I forgot about it after that. Dan became one of those names she dropped occasionally when telling me work stories. Dan came in late again, but he brought coffee for the whole front desk. Dan tried to flirt with Emma and got completely shut down. Dan said I should take up boxing so I can fight off all the creeps. Each time I rolled my eyes or made a teasing comment, it never occurred to me to be jealous. Jenna's always been flirty in that casual, friendly way. Waiters, baristas, random dogs on the street. She gives everyone the same kind of warm attention. It's just who she is. If anything, I was glad she liked her job enough to talk about it. And yeah, sometimes when she talked about Dan being so funny or such a disaster, a tiny part of me wondered if he was doing more than just cracking jokes. But I trusted her. That's not an exaggeration. That's the part that's messing with my head now. I really trusted her. Things started feeling off maybe 2 months ago. It wasn't one big thing. More like a series of tiny shifts I kept gaslighting myself out of noticing. She started working late more often. I've got to stay back and help tidy up, or we had a last-minute booking, or Charlie begged me to cover the phones for an extra hour. I'd offer to pick her up and she'd say no, it's fine, she'll just grab an Uber, she doesn't want me to go out of my way. When she got home from those late nights, she'd be wired, not tired. Sometimes she'd come in flushed, eyes bright, smelling like the night air and something expensive I didn't recognize. Not her usual body spray, not laundry detergent, something musky. I'd be on the couch, half asleep with some show droning in the background. She'd drop a quick kiss on my forehead and say, "You're up, why aren't you in bed?" Like it was weird I'd stayed awake. "You okay?" I asked once, sitting up as she kicked off her boots. "Yeah," she said too quickly. "Just a long day, you know how it is." She vanished into the bathroom before I could say anything else. Sex changed too. It wasn't just less frequent. Sometimes it was almost frantic. She'd climb onto me like she was trying to outrun something, hand clutching the back of my neck, kissing me hard enough to bruise. Then there were stretches where she'd roll away when I reached for her, mumbling, "I'm exhausted, babe," before pulling the blanket over her head. Again, I told myself this was normal. People go through phases. Jobs get stressful. Libido goes up and down. I'd read enough posts on here that start with, "My partner doesn't want sex anymore, is our relationship doomed?" to know not to overreact. Then came the iPad. It was a stupid, mundane situation. Jenna was in the shower, I was on the couch, and her iPad was on the coffee table because she'd been showing me some photos earlier. She uses it for editing, has one of those Apple Pencil things she constantly loses, and then finds in the couch cushions. I wasn't snooping. I know everyone says that, but I genuinely was. I was half watching a YouTube video about some guy restoring an old Game Boy when the iPad lit up with a notification. Messages. Dan Clinic. I probably still wouldn't have thought much of it, if not for the preview line. Can't stop thinking about last night, TBH. The bottom dropped out of my stomach. I froze, didn't touch it. I just stared at the words until the screen dimmed again. For a full 30 seconds, I sat there, my brain doing that weird static thing like when a video buffers badly. Maybe it's a joke, I thought. Maybe he's talking about something funny that happened. Maybe they went out for drinks after work and he said something dumb. The shower in the bathroom turned off. I heard the curtain rings scrape along the rod. I picked up the iPad. I wish I could say I didn't. I wish I could sit here and claim the moral high ground that I waited and asked her calmly and never invaded her privacy. But I did. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it, but I swiped, entered her passcode she'd told me ages ago, back when the idea of snooping would have seemed absurd, and opened the thread. I scrolled. And scrolled. And scrolled. The earliest messages were harmless, months back, stuff like, "Hey, it's Dan, can you move my appointment? Jenna, can you remind Charlie, I hate the resistance bands of doom. You're a lifesaver, seriously." Then it shifted, jokes got flirtier, emojis changed. "You're way too good at putting up with my shit. That's because you're not all bad. Oh yeah, which parts are good? Don't get cocky, Jim bro." A selfie of her taken from that angle she uses when she's being playful. Tongue out, peace sign. Caption, "This is my be nice to patient's face." That face is dangerous, lol. Dangerous how? Do you know how? My chest physically hurt reading it, like someone had reached in, grabbed my heart and twisted. Then maybe 3 weeks back. "Wish you were here RN, front desk is dead and I'm bored. Be there in 10, finish early today." Lol, don't tease. Who said I was teasing? A photo from their perspective in the clinic waiting room, empty chairs, closed doors. Then, everyone gone. On my way. There was a gap in the conversation after that, half an hour or so, then, fuck. We probably shouldn't have done that. Probably not. But I'm not exactly sorry. Me neither. My hands went numb. I kept scrolling, I don't know why. Self-torture, I guess, proof that I wasn't overreacting. Thinking about the way you looked at me after, can't focus at work. Stop, I'm literally 3 feet from the reception desk. You started it. Liar. Maybe. Later that same night, after she'd come home exhausted, and we'd eaten leftovers in silence, "You get home safe?" "Yeah. Just showered. Wish I could have stayed longer." "You would have been late for your next set of glutes of steel, or whatever you call it. You're jealous of my glutes, just admit it." "Shut up. Make me." And on and on. They joked, they talked about nothing, they flirted. He told her she was honestly the only fun part of physio. She told him he should stop fake flirting with Emma because she's oblivious and will think you're serious. He called her trouble. She called him idiot. Then there were the messages I can't unsee, even if I want to. Messages about that motel near the highway, because your place is too risky, and your boyfriend seems like a nice dude. That last bit is the one that keeps stabbing me in the ribs. Your boyfriend seems like a nice dude. He is. Makes me feel like an asshole, sometimes, TBH. Don't overthink it, it's not serious. My hands were sweating so much I was scared I'd short-circuit the tablet. Somewhere, the bathroom door opened. Steam rolled into the hallway, carrying her shampoo smell. "Hey babe, did you see where I put?" She started, walking into the living room with a towel wrapped around her hair, another around her body. She stopped dead when she saw the iPad in my hands and whatever my face looked like. "What are you doing?" she asked, voice suddenly sharp. I looked up at her. I must have been pale because she grabbed the doorframe like she needed support. "I could ask you the same thing," I said, throat tight. I held up the screen. Her messages with Dan Clinic glared back at us in blue and grey bubbles. What is this? She didn't even try the usual, "It's not what it looks like." Not fully. Her shoulders dropped. Her mouth opened and closed twice before she managed. "You went through my messages." "Oh, so that's where we're going," my brain thought numbly. A notification popped up, I said, standing up, iPad still in my hand. My legs felt like they belonged to someone else. I saw one line, "Can't stop thinking about last night." That's not exactly a dentist reminder, Jenna. She wrapped the towel tighter around herself, like she was suddenly cold. "You shouldn't have read them." "I know," I snapped. "I know I shouldn't have had to." She flinched. There was a long, brittle silence. I could hear the washing machine in the laundromat downstairs spin up, a faint whine through the floorboards. How long? I asked finally. I sounded like every betrayed guy in every Reddit post I've ever scrolled past at 2 a.m. She stared at a spot over my shoulder. A couple months, she mumbled. A couple, I choked on it. Months, how many times? She winced. Sam. How many? I didn't recognize my own voice. 3, she whispered. 3 times. 3 times in some highway motel while I thought she was catching up on paperwork or grabbing a drink with coworkers. 3 times that I made dinner or vacuumed or watched some show alone while she was out there choosing him. My chest hurt. My hands, still gripping the iPad, hurt. Why? I asked, and that's when my voice broke. Not the logistics this time, just that one word that felt like it contained every part of me. Why, Jenna? She sank onto the arm of the couch, the towel shifting. For once, she didn't bother adjusting it. Her shoulders shook. I don't know, she said, which is obviously bullshit, but it came out so small that I almost believed she believed it. It just happened. I almost laughed. People do just happen into a motel room, Jenna, I said. You do just happen out of your clothes. You do just happen to text someone that it's not serious so you don't feel guilty. She covered her face with her hands. I know, her voice broke. I hate myself. Okay, is that what you want to hear? That I know I'm a piece of shit? I want to hear why, I said again, softer this time. Because from where I'm standing we were fine. Not perfect, but fine. I loved you. My throat closed. And you chose him, over and over. She dropped her hands and looked at me. Her eyes were red, mascara smeared into little shadows under them. I was lonely, she whispered. The word landed between us with a dull thud. You was lonely, I repeated, while living with me. That's not, she dragged in a shaky breath, not just about you, or about you being bad. You're not Sam, you're not bad, you've been constant, solid. I know you love me, that's never been the question. Then what is the question? She chewed her lip, the way she does when she's choosing her words carefully. I started feeling like we were roommates, she said finally. Like your life and my life were parallel lines instead of whatever they're supposed to be when you're in love. You get up early, you go to work, you come home exhausted, you collapse on the couch, you half listen to me talk while you're scrolling your phone, we eat, we watch something, we go to bed, repeat, we stopped seeing each other. I see you, I protested, the words out before I could catch them. It sounded pathetic even to me. I notice things, When's the last time you complimented my photos without me prompting you? She asked suddenly, eyes flashing. Like, genuinely saw something I made and wanted to talk about it. When's the last time you asked how I was doing without me being mid-panic? When's the last time we went on a date that wasn't just you grabbing takeout on your way home because I messaged you, I'm starving? I opened my mouth, closed it. Flashes of the last few months rolled through my head. The nights I'd come home late and she'd be editing on the couch, headphones on, and I'd kiss her head and say, looks cool, babe, without really looking. The times she'd start telling a story and my phone would buzz and I'd say, sorry, work, 1 sec, and then forget to ask her to finish. The weekends I'd be too tired to do anything more than go to the same pub we'd always gone to. My instinct was to defend myself, to point out that I paid most of the rent, that I did the dishes more often than not, that I'd been the one saving for our one-day trip, that I asked about her day. I just, maybe not as enthusiastically as I used to. But Dan did. I asked instead, the name coming out bitter. He asked. She looked guilty. He listened, she said quietly. About my photos, about my old dreams, about stuff I wasn't even sure I wanted anymore. He noticed things, like if I changed my hair or wore something new, he'd say something. She stopped herself, swallowing. It felt good, she finished lamely. I sank down onto the coffee table, because suddenly the couch felt like it was 100 miles away. So because I didn't say, nice haircut, you slept with him? I asked. I knew I was simplifying, but I needed to hear how ridiculous it sounded. Her nostrils flared. It's not about the haircut, she snapped. You know that, it was a build-up, tiny things, feeling like I was fading into the background of my own life. And then here's this guy who makes me feel exciting. It started as jokes. Then we started talking about more real stuff. He told me about his shitty breakup. I told him about mine before you. We were venting, friends vent, and then one night we were both still at the clinic late. Everyone was gone, and he kissed me, and I didn't stop him. Hearing her say it out loud was another punch to the gut. You didn't stop him, I repeated. I should have, she said quickly. I know that, I thought about you and I still didn't. I hate that, but it wasn't like some grand romance, it was impulsive. We both said it was a mistake after, swore it wouldn't happen again, and then it did, 2 more times, and each time I told myself, this is the last one. I kept choosing wrong. Yeah, I said hoarsely, you did. I kept telling myself it wasn't serious, she whispered. That's how I justified it, that I wasn't planning to leave you, that I didn't want a life with him, that it was just physical and stupid and temporary. I know how awful that sounds. I'm not saying it like it makes it okay. I'm just telling you where my head was. You told him it wasn't serious, I said, lifting the iPad slightly. Those were your words. She crumpled a little at that. Yeah, she said, voice barely audible. And you really think, I asked slowly, that calling it not serious makes the fact that you chose him any less painful? That it makes it better somehow that you were willing to risk us for something that wasn't even important to you? She stared at me, eyes glossy. I don't know what I think, she whispered. I just know I fucked up. I know I don't deserve you. I know that I'm asking for more than I have any right to ask for when I say, please don't leave. Please let me fix this. Please let me prove that I choose you. That's how we ended up at the restaurant. Because after that first fight, the iPad, the raw confessions, I did leave. Not permanently. Not yet. I grabbed my keys, told her I needed air, and spent 2 hours walking in circles around the block. My phone buzzed constantly. Where are you? Please come back. I'm so sorry. Please talk to me. I ended up at Luke's place. I didn't tell him everything that night, just enough that he handed me a beer, set up the couch and said, stay as long as you need, man. I lay there in the dark, watching the shadows from his street lamp crawl across the ceiling, and thought about every moment with Jenna like I was flipping through a photo album someone else had taken. She texted me paragraphs, apologies, explanations, vague promises that she'd cut things off, that it was over, that she'd do anything. I didn't answer, not that night. The next day she asked if we could meet somewhere neutral. I suggested the park. She said she'd feel exposed. We settled on this little Italian place we used to love when we first started dating. It felt like a cruel joke as soon as I walked in and the hostess smiled and said, table for 2. Like we were just another couple out for a nice meal instead of people sitting down to sift through the wreck of something that used to feel solid. And now we're back to where I started this post, her whispering that it wasn't serious, like intent matters more than impact. Do you love him? I ask suddenly, because the question's been sitting just behind my teeth since last night. Her eyes go wide. No, she says immediately, almost too fast. God no, I don't. I barely even like him half the time. He's arrogant and kind of selfish and honestly pretty clueless. It was like that. It was attention, validation, a distraction from feeling like I was disappearing. So you threw a grenade into our life, I say slowly, for someone you don't even really like. She flinches. When you put it like that. How else am I supposed to put it? Silence again. The waiter comes by, asks carefully, is everything okay with your meal? The universe's sense of timing is apparently darkly comedic. Yeah, I say, because I don't know what else to tell the poor guy. It's fine, just not very hungry. He nods, does a quick, sympathetic smile and retreats. I don't expect you to understand, Jenna says once he's gone. I barely understand it. I just know that somewhere along the line I started needing to feel desired, not just loved. Loved felt like a blanket, warm, safe, comfortable. Desire felt like a spotlight, and I was tired of always being the one cheering everyone else on, at work, at home. I wanted someone whose eyes lit up when I walked into the room again. And she shrugs helplessly. He gave me that, for a stupid, shitty, selfish moment. I chose that over everything. I sit with that, with the knowledge that my love had turned into a blanket for her when she wanted a spotlight. Did you ever think, I ask slowly, about asking me to be the spotlight again, instead of going to someone else? Her eyes well up. I tried, she says. In my own messed up, indirect way, I'd say things like, do you still find me attractive? And you'd laugh and say, don't be ridiculous, of course I do. Which yes, technically answers the question, but it always felt like you were brushing off the feeling underneath. I'd suggest going out and dressing up and you'd say you were tired. I'd say I felt unseen and you'd hug me and say, I see you, but then nothing really changed. I know you didn't mean it to be that way. I know you're not a mind reader. I'm not saying this to blame you. I'm just trying to explain how I got so lost that this felt like a way to feel something again. I think about the times she asked, do you still like me? In that half-joking tone, and how I'd respond with, no, I secretly loathe you, I'm just here for the free Netflix, instead of actually answering. I thought the joke was the answer, that we were secure enough to play it off. I say, staring at the abandoned bread basket, you're not the first person on earth to feel lonely in a relationship. I get it, more than you think. There were nights I'd lie next to you and feel like I was on the opposite side of a canyon, but I didn't go find someone to validate me. She nods, tears finally spilling over. I know, she whispers, And that's what kills me, that you were strong where I was weak, that you stayed when I ran. I'm quiet for a long moment. What do you want from me, Jenna? I ask. Honestly, if this is just you doing the guilt dump so you can say you were honest, tell me now. If you want to work on this, say that. If you want to be with him, my chest tightens around the word. Say that too, I can take it. I can't take being the safe option while you sneak feelings elsewhere. She looks like I slapped her. Her voice, when it comes, is raw. I want you, she says. I want us, not just because he's nothing. I mean he is, but that's not why. I want us because even at my worst, the picture in my head of my life has always had you in it. I want to fix what I broke. I want to figure out how to make us feel alive again without blowing everything up next time I get scared. I know I might have already killed that chance. I know I have no right to ask for it, but I'm asking anyway, because the alternative is losing you completely, and that thought makes me feel sick. My eyes sting, I blink hard. You didn't just break something, I say quietly. You broke me. You broke the version of me that believed that if I showed up and loved someone consistently, that would be enough to keep them choosing me. I don't know how to rebuild that. I don't know if I can. I'll help, she says immediately, leaning forward like she can physically bridge the gap. However long it takes, therapy, boundaries, transparency, whatever you need. You can have access to my phone, my iPad, my brain, I don't care. I'll tell him to fuck off. I already blocked him, I swear. I'll quit my job if I have to. I'll. Stop, I say gently. You can't fix this by sacrificing your entire life on an altar to my pain. That'll just make you resent me and we'll end up here again in a different way. She deflates a little. What should I do then? I don't know, I admit. That's the messed up part. I don't have a neat plan. I just know that I can't go back to how things were like nothing happened. I can't unknow that when you felt lonely, your first big move was towards someone else instead of towards me. We sit there, two people who used to be a team, staring at the wreckage like we're waiting for instructions. Do you want me to move out? She asks eventually, voice small. The idea makes my stomach twist. Not because I want her there right now, but because the thought of our little apartment without her mess, her giggles, her socks everywhere hurts. I think I need to, I say, at least for a while. I can't sleep in that bed knowing you know. Her face crumples. I understand, she whispers. Do you have somewhere to go? Luke said I can crash on his couch for as long as I need, I say. I'll grab some stuff tonight. You can do what you need to do. Block him. Quit, don't quit. I'm not going to police that. But whatever you choose, just don't lie about it. Not anymore. What about us? She asks, and there it is again, the question I'm still not ready to answer. I don't know, I say honestly. I'm not making any decisions tonight. I'm too inside it. I need distance. I need to remember who I am without you long enough to figure out if I can be that person with you again. She nods, tears sliding down her cheeks silently. For once, she doesn't reach for me. Maybe she finally understands that some lines can't be crossed without consequences. We ask for the bill. The waiter brings it with that awkward, tight-lipped smile people reserve for couples clearly having a bad time in public. I pay, habit. The numbers mean nothing to me in that moment. Outside, the air is cold and smells faintly of exhaust and fried food from the takeaway next door. We stand awkwardly by the door. People weave around us, laughing, holding hands, complaining about work. I feel like I'm watching them from underwater. I'm so sorry, Sam, she says again. I know you probably never want to hear that sentence again, but I am. I'm so sorry. I know, I say, and I do believe she's sorry. It doesn't change what she did, but I believe the remorse is real. Take care of yourself, okay? She lets out a broken little laugh. You're telling me to take care of myself. Yeah, I say, because despite all this, some fucking part of me still cares whether you eat and sleep and don't walk in front of a bus while you're crying about being an asshole. Her mouth wobbles into a sad smile. Text me when you get to Luke. I hesitate, then nod. I'll let you know I'm alive, I say, but don't expect more than that for a while. Okay, she whispers. I'll wait. If that's what's left for me to do, I'll wait. I don't say don't wait for me. I don't say move on either. I don't know what I want her to do, so I just nod once, turn and walk away. That was 5 days ago. I'm writing this from Luke's couch, the one that dips in the middle so you roll into the cushions at 3 a.m. His cat has decided my duffel bag is a new bed. I woke up today to whiskers on my nose and for a second forgot where I was. Then I remembered, and it was like the first drop on a roller coaster all over again. Jenna's texted me more times than I've responded. Messages like, I blocked his number for real this time, here's a screenshot. I told Charlie I can't handle Dan as a patient anymore. She said she'll move him to someone else. I booked a therapy appointment. I miss you. I know I have no right to say that, but I do. I've replied with, okay. Got to Luke's. Thanks for the update. I'm trying to be kind without giving her hope. I don't actually know if I can back up. It's a weird tightrope. I've also started seeing a therapist. One session so far. She asked me what I wanted out of therapy, and I said something stupid like, I want to know if I was actually as not serious as she's trying to make this thing with him out to be. The therapist smiled sadly and said, I think you're already pretty sure of the answer to that. Here, what I keep circling back to, and what I'd love strangers' thoughts on. It wasn't serious. That's what Jenna said. That's what she keeps saying. And I get that in her head. That means it wasn't about building a life with him, that she didn't intend to replace me, that it was impulsive and shallow and meaningless compared to our relationship. But in my head, there is nothing not serious about choosing to step outside your relationship. There's nothing not serious about looking at the person you supposedly love and deciding that your temporary need to feel desired is more important than their trust. The fact that she was willing to risk our very serious life for something she considers not serious almost makes it worse. Because if she'd fallen madly in love with someone else, if there'd been this huge emotional connection she couldn't deny, I could maybe understand how it pulled her away. It would still hurt like hell, but at least there'd be a sense that she was following something meaningful. Instead, she rolled a grenade into our relationship for what? A few afternoons at a motel with a guy she admits she doesn't even really like. Attention, validation, a spotlight instead of a blanket. I get that humans are messy. I get that loneliness does weird things to your brain. I get that I contributed, we drifted, I didn't show up the way she needed, I coasted on we're fine when we weren't. Therapy has already started peeling those layers back. I'm not interested in painting myself as the perfect boyfriend who was just randomly betrayed out of nowhere. But I also don't want to gaslight myself into thinking her choice was anything less than exactly that, a choice. Many choices, actually, to talk to him, to flirt, to meet up, to remove clothes, to lie, to come home and kiss me and let me clean the damn kitchen while she texted him about how she couldn't stop thinking about last night. Those choices were serious, even if she labeled them not serious to sleep at night. Part of me misses her like a limb. I miss the stupid stuff, the way she sings off-key to songs she loves, the way she steals my hoodies and then complains that I never have any, the way she narrates the cat videos she watches out loud. I miss our quiet mornings, coffee on the balcony, sharing dumb memes. I miss my friend. Another part of me is so angry I could set something on fire. Not just at her, but at myself, for not seeing it, for believing that being the stable one would protect me from this. For thinking we were above the kind of shit I always scroll past on this sub with morbid curiosity. People always say, once a cheater, always a cheater. I don't know if that's true. I've seen people fuck up and genuinely change. I've also seen people use I was in a dark place as a hall pass to keep hurting others. I don't know yet which camp Jenna will end up in. I don't even know if I want to be around to find out. But here's what I do know. I deserve someone who thinks of me as more than just comfortable, who comes to me when they're lonely instead of to the nearest guy who calls them pretty, who sees our relationship as serious in all the ways that matter, not heavy, not joyless, but real enough that it's worth fighting for before they blow it up. Whether that person is Jenna after a lot of work and time and therapy, or someone entirely different down the line, I don't know. I guess that's what the next few months are for. For now, I'm focusing on small things, eating actual meals, going to work, not checking her Instagram stories, petting Luke's cat when my chest feels too tight, writing this ridiculously long post to strangers on the internet because it feels safer than saying it out loud to the people who know us in real life. If you've made it this far, thanks for reading. I don't know if I'm looking for advice as much as I'm just trying to put this somewhere that isn't my own head. She whispered it wasn't serious, like it was a band-aid instead of a knife. I'm starting to realize that the seriousness of it isn't measured by how she felt about him, but by how it made me feel about myself. And that, more than anything, is what I have to figure out how to heal.